tells you warn. They crave you a billion times more. Ultra strong. There comes a moment in life when everything changes, not because the world suddenly becomes different, but because you become different. This is that moment. Right now, as you hear these words, you are standing at the threshold of a completely new reality. The version of you who begged for attention, feared rejection, questioned your worth, and waited endlessly for someone else's approval is about to disappear. In its place rises someone magnetic, confident, unforgettable, and deeply desired. The greatest secret has never been about making another person chase you. The real secret has always been becoming the person who naturally inspires love, admiration, and commitment without force. When your inner world transforms, your outer world begins to reflect that transformation in extraordinary ways. For far too long, people have been taught to search outside themselves for validation. They analyze messages, overthink silence, look for signs, and believe that someone else holds the key to their happiness. But today, that illusion ends. The power you have been searching for has always been within you. The moment you decide that you are worthy of extraordinary love, your mind begins to create a completely different experience. You stop operating from fear and start living from certainty. You no longer ask, will they choose me? Instead, you naturally assume, I am already worthy of love, respect, and commitment. That single shift changes everything. Think about it. Every relationship you have ever experienced has been influenced by the beliefs you consistently held about yourself. If you believed you were difficult to love, life often reflected that fear. If you believed you were easily forgotten, circumstances seemed to confirm it. But what happens when you replace those old assumptions with a new identity? What happens when you wake up every morning convinced that you are unforgettable, cherished, and naturally attractive? Your posture changes. Your words carry confidence. Your energy becomes calm instead of desperate. You begin living as someone who expects love rather than chases it. And people respond differently to someone who already knows their worth. So let this be your warning. Not a warning of fear, but a warning of transformation. Once you truly accept your value, there is no going back. The old version of you cannot survive in a mind filled with confidence and certainty. From this moment forward, refuse to entertain thoughts of rejection. Refuse to surrender your peace to doubt. Refuse to measure your worth by another person's actions. Instead, claim the identity of someone who is deeply loved, respected, and emotionally secure. As you continue listening, allow every word to strengthen your confidence and remind you of one unshakable truth. The most powerful force in your life is the story you choose to believe about yourself. Change that story, remain faithful to it, and watch your world begin to reflect the love, appreciation, and devotion you have always deserved. Everything begins within. Before a single conversation changes, before a message appears on your phone, before circumstances seem to shift, the true transformation takes place in your own consciousness. The way you consistently see yourself influences how you interpret the world and how you show up in your relationships. If you constantly tell yourself that you are overlooked, unwanted, or difficult to love, those beliefs shape your expectations, your emotions, and your actions. On the other hand, when you begin to believe that you are worthy of genuine affection, respect, and commitment, your entire perspective starts to change. You become calmer, more confident, and less driven by fear. You stop looking outside yourself for constant reassurance because you have already given yourself the validation you once expected from someone else. That inner confidence naturally affects the way you communicate, the boundaries you set, and the energy you bring into every interaction. Instead of chasing attention, you become someone who values mutual effort. Instead of assuming rejection, you begin expecting honesty, kindness, and consistency. This shift is powerful because it starts with something you can control, your own thoughts and beliefs. When you repeatedly focus on a new story about yourself, that story gradually becomes your default way of seeing life. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, and make decisions from a place of self-respect rather than insecurity. Even if the outside world has not caught up yet, your inner world has already changed, and that change is significant. Temporary silence, delays, or uncertainty no longer shake your confidence because your sense of worth is no longer dependent on someone else's behavior. You understand that healthy relationships grow best when both people feel valued, respected, and emotionally secure. By choosing to strengthen your own self concept, you create the conditions for healthier interactions and more fulfilling connections. This does not mean you control another person's choices or feelings. Every individual has free will, personal experiences, and their own path. However, you always have the ability to shape your own mindset, your responses, and the standards you accept in your life. That is where your greatest power lies. Imagine waking up each morning with the quiet certainty that you are enough exactly as you are. Imagine going through your day without constantly checking your phone, replaying conversations, or worrying about whether someone cares. Instead, you invest your attention in becoming the happiest, healthiest, and most authentic version of yourself. You pursue your goals, nurture your friendships, develop your talents, and treat yourself with compassion. Ironically, this is often when relationships become stronger, because confidence and emotional stability are deeply attractive qualities. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate peace instead of desperation, assurance instead of anxiety, and authenticity instead of performance. The greatest warning is not that someone may suddenly crave your presence. The greatest warning is that once you truly recognize your own value, you will never again settle for relationships built on uncertainty, inconsistency, or emotional games. You will choose connections that reflect the love and respect you have first established within yourself. From this moment forward, let your inner dialogue become your greatest ally. Speak to yourself with encouragement instead of criticism. Replace fear with trust, doubt with confidence, and insecurity with self respect. As your inner reality grows stronger, your outer life begins to reflect that strength in meaningful and lasting ways. Every lasting transformation starts with one decision: to believe that you are already worthy of the kind of love, care, and commitment you seek. Once that belief becomes part of who you are, you stop chasing what you deserve and begin recognizing it when it arrives. There is a powerful shift that happens the moment you stop believing that love must be earned through constant effort. Too many people spend their lives trying to convince someone to notice them, appreciate them, or choose them. They overanalyze every conversation, replay every interaction, and search for hidden meanings in every delay. But genuine confidence is born when you realize that your value does not increase or decrease based on another person's response. The more you anchor your identity in self respect, the less you feel the need to chase approval. Instead of asking, "What can I do to make them want me?" begin asking, "How can I become the healthiest, happiest, and most authentic version of myself?" That single question redirects your energy from fear to growth. You begin investing in your own life, your dreams, your well being, and your peace of mind. You stop making another person the center of your emotional world and start becoming the center of your own. This is not about pretending not to care or playing emotional games. It is about developing genuine inner stability. When you are emotionally secure, your confidence is no longer dependent on receiving immediate texts, compliments, or reassurance. You know your worth even in moments of silence. You trust your value even when circumstances seem uncertain. This calm assurance changes the way you communicate. Your words become more thoughtful, your actions become more intentional, and your presence becomes more grounded. Reacting from anxiety, you respond from clarity. Instead of trying to impress, you simply express your authentic self. People often feel more comfortable around someone who is secure because that confidence creates an atmosphere of trust rather than pressure. Healthy relationships thrive when both individuals feel free to be themselves instead of feeling responsible for constantly proving their affection. Choosing yourself also means raising your standards. You no longer settle for inconsistency, mixed signals, or one-sided effort simply because you fear being alone. You recognize that real love includes mutual respect, honest communication, and shared commitment. As your self-respect grows, your decisions begin reflecting it. You protect your peace, maintain healthy boundaries, and refuse to define your identity by someone else's temporary behavior. This mindset allows you to experience relationships from a place of abundance instead of scarcity. You no longer believe that one person determines your happiness. Instead, you understand that your happiness begins within, and that meaningful relationships add to an already fulfilling life. Every day becomes an opportunity to strengthen your confidence through small, intentional choices. Speak kindly to yourself. Celebrate your progress. Invest in your personal growth. Learn new skills. Pursue your passions. Care for your physical and emotional health. And surround yourself with people who encourage your best qualities. The more fulfilled you become as an individual, the more naturally you attract relationships built on mutual appreciation rather than emotional dependence. The greatest transformation is not that someone suddenly notices your value, it is that you finally notice it yourself. Once you genuinely recognize your own worth, you stop negotiating with your standards, stop accepting less than you deserve, and stop living from fear of rejection. You become someone who walks with quiet confidence because your identity is no longer built on external validation. This is the true warning. When you consistently choose yourself, cultivate self-respect, and live from inner confidence, your entire approach to relationships changes. You become more peaceful, more resilient, and more emotionally available for healthy love. Whether someone enters your life or returns to it, they encounter a version of you that is stronger, wiser, and deeply rooted in self-worth. That inner transformation is the foundation upon which lasting, meaningful, and fulfilling relationships are built. The greatest mistake people make is allowing temporary circumstances to convince them that nothing is changing. They look at silence, delays, misunderstanding, or moments when life seems to stand still and immediately assume that their hopes are fading away. But true transformation does not begin in the outer world. It begins in the quiet moments when you choose to remain faithful to a new belief about yourself, despite what your eyes can currently see. Every meaningful change starts as an invisible decision within your own mind. Before confidence becomes visible in your actions, it first becomes a thought you consistently repeat. Before peace becomes your daily experience, it begins as a choice to stop feeding fear. Before healthier relationships appear, they are first imagined, expected, and emotionally accepted within. This is why persistence matters so deeply. Persistence is not stubbornly denying reality. It is refusing to let temporary setbacks define your future. It is the daily practice of returning your attention to the version of yourself who is already secure, already worthy, and already living from confidence instead of uncertainty. Each time fear whispers that nothing is happening, answer it with the truth that growth often occurs quietly before it becomes visible. A tree develops its roots long before anyone admires its branches. In the same way, your emotional strength develops within before it is reflected in your relationships. Every encouraging thought you choose over self-criticism strengthens those roots. Every moment you replace doubt with trust reinforces the identity you are creating. Every time you choose calm instead of panic, you teach your mind that your peace is more valuable than your fears. Imagine waking up every morning and deciding that your first conversation will not be with anxiety but with confidence. Instead of asking yourself why something has not happened yet, remind yourself of who you are becoming. Tell yourself that you are growing stronger, wiser, and more emotionally secure every single day. Allow your thoughts to become words that build you rather than tear you down. Speak to yourself with kindness. Expect good things without demanding immediate proof. Understand that meaningful change often unfolds gradually, one decision at a time. When you persist in a healthy self-concept, your actions naturally begin to align with that belief. You communicate more openly, set healthier boundaries, and recognize opportunities that fear once caused you to overlook. Persistence is also about refusing to let yesterday's disappointments become tomorrow's expectations. The past may explain where you have been, but it does not have to determine where you are going. Every new day offers another opportunity to think differently, respond differently, and believe differently. Your future is shaped far more by the choices you make today than by the mistakes you made yesterday. This is why consistency is more powerful than intensity. One moment of inspiration is valuable, but a daily commitment to confidence creates lasting transformation. As you continue nurturing this new mindset, you may notice that you become less reactive to circumstances and more focused on your own growth. You stop measuring your progress by someone else's actions and begin measuring it by your own peace of mind. That is real success. Whether another person changes quickly, slowly, or not at all, you continue becoming someone who values honesty, emotional maturity, and genuine connection. The warning is this: once you commit to a new story about yourself and refuse to abandon it every time life becomes uncertain, you become unstoppable. Fear loses its grip, insecurity begins to fade, and confidence becomes your natural way of living. Your greatest victory is not controlling the outside world, but mastering the world within. When your inner reality is rooted in hope, self-respect, and unwavering belief in your own worth, your outer life has a strong foundation upon which lasting and meaningful relationships can grow. One of the greatest obstacles to experiencing peace in any relationship is allowing fear to become louder than faith in yourself. Fear constantly asks questions that have no satisfying answers. It whispers, "What if they never call? What if they stop caring? What if someone else takes your place? What if you are not enough?" These thoughts can become so repetitive that they begin to shape the way you experience every interaction. You start looking for problems where none exist, interpreting silence as rejection, and believing that uncertainty is evidence of failure. But the moment you decide to release fear, you also release the emotional chains that have been holding you back. You discover that your peace does not depend on another person's actions, but on the story you choose to believe about yourself. Instead of allowing your imagination to create worst-case scenarios, begin using it to reinforce confidence, security, and emotional stability. Imagine yourself already living in the relationship you desire, not from a place of fantasy or denial, but as a reminder of the qualities you wish to embody. Picture yourself feeling appreciated, respected, emotionally safe, and genuinely valued. Notice how that version of you walks with confidence, speaks with kindness, and responds with patience instead of panic. When you consistently return your mind to this healthier perspective, you begin living from the emotional state you want to experience rather than waiting for external circumstances to create it. This shift changes everything because your emotions influence your decisions, your communication, and your overall well-being. When fear no longer dominates your thinking, you become more present in your daily life. You stop checking your phone every few minutes. You stop searching for hidden meanings behind every message or delay. You stop measuring your worth by someone else's level of attention. Instead, you invest your time in becoming the best version of yourself. You care for your health, pursue your passions, strengthen your character, and build a life that feels meaningful regardless of what is happening around you. Ironically, this is when relationships become healthier because you are no longer approaching them from emotional dependence. You are bringing confidence, authenticity, and stability instead of anxiety and pressure. Living from the end also means making decisions that align with the future you desire. If you believe you are worthy of honest and lasting love, then your actions should reflect that belief. You communicate respectfully, maintain healthy boundaries, and refuse to settle for treatment that contradicts your values. You become someone who naturally expects mutual respect because that expectation has become part of your identity. Every day offers a new opportunity to reinforce this mindset. Whenever fear tries to pull you back into old patterns, gently remind yourself that your future is not determined by yesterday's doubts. Your future is influenced by the beliefs you consistently choose today. Continue choosing hope over worry, confidence over insecurity, patience over desperation, and self-respect over self-criticism. Understand that genuine transformation is not about pretending challenges do not exist. It is about refusing to let those challenges define who you are. The greatest warning is this: once you truly release fear and begin living from a place of inner certainty, your entire life changes. You no longer wait for someone else to give you permission to feel loved, complete, or worthy. You carry those qualities within yourself every single day. That inner confidence becomes the foundation of every healthy relationship you build. Whether someone enters your life, strengthens their connection with you, or simply reminds you of your own resilience, you remain grounded in the unshakable truth that your value has never depended on external circumstances. Your peace begins within, and from that place of peace, lasting love has the opportunity to grow in a healthy, meaningful, and authentic way. Everything changes the moment you stop waiting for life to tell you who you are and begin deciding who you will be. For too long, many people have allowed circumstances, other people's opinions, and temporary disappointments to define their identity. They believed that being ignored meant they were unworthy, that rejection meant they were unlovable, or that delays meant their dreams would never come true. But none of those experiences have the authority to determine your value. Your identity is formed by the beliefs you consistently accept about yourself. The most powerful transformation begins when you choose to live each day as the version of yourself who is already confident, already respected, already loved, and already emotionally secure. Instead of waiting for someone else to choose you before you feel worthy, begin choosing yourself every single day. Speak to yourself with kindness, celebrate your progress, forgive your mistakes, and refuse to let fear become the loudest voice in your mind. Every decision you make either strengthens your confidence or reinforces your doubts. Choose the thoughts that remind you of your strength. Choose the habits that support your growth. Choose the relationships that encourage honesty, respect, and mutual care. As you repeatedly make these choices, your identity becomes rooted in self-respect rather than insecurity. You no longer wake up wondering whether someone else values you because you already know your own worth. That quiet certainty changes the way you move through life. You become more patient because you are no longer desperate. You become more compassionate because you are no longer consumed by fear. You become more authentic because you no longer feel the need to perform for acceptance. There is incredible freedom in living from this mindset. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's. You stop believing that your happiness depends on one particular outcome. Instead, you trust that your life is unfolding through the daily choices you make and the character you continue to build. This perspective allows you to appreciate each moment instead of constantly worrying about what comes next. It also strengthens every relationship in your life because people experience the real you instead of the anxious version that is constantly seeking reassurance. Healthy love grows best when both individuals feel secure enough to be genuine. Becoming the version of yourself who is already chosen does not mean pretending everything is perfect or ignoring challenges. It means responding to those challenges with confidence instead of panic. When setbacks appear, you remind yourself that temporary circumstances do not erase your value. When doubts arise, you replace them with truth. When fear attempts to return, you answer it with the knowledge that your worth has never depended on another person's approval. Every day becomes an opportunity to reinforce this new identity through your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Continue investing in your goals, your health, your spiritual growth, your friendships, and your personal development. Build a life that reflects the love and respect you wish to experience. The more complete you become within yourself, the more naturally you attract relationships that reflect those same qualities. This is the true meaning of transformation. It is not about changing someone else's heart through force or manipulation. It is about changing your own perspective so completely that you begin recognizing and accepting the love, respect, and opportunities that align with your values. Let this be the final warning. Once you truly understand your worth and refuse to abandon it, there is no returning to the old version of yourself. You become someone who walks through life with quiet confidence, unwavering self-respect, and genuine inner peace. That confidence is not loud, arrogant, or demanding. It is calm, steady, and deeply rooted. It reminds you every single day that you are enough exactly as you are, and from that foundation, You create the space for healthy, meaningful, and lasting love to flourish.